It says setting up. It's still about, I think it's live. We'll just start like that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nkosi Talk Show today. With me is Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Kamal.
Nice to see you again. Nice to have you back.
Yes, nice to be back.
All right. Yep. Everything is going live now. It's confirmed. Good. Let's shut this off. All right. So today we have an interesting topic that we thought of bringing to everyone. As you know, in the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, we often become sort of passengers in our existence. We get caught up in the routine and responsibilities. So today, we would like you to take a step into the driver's seat, and we will steer you towards perhaps uncharted territories of your inner self. Today's topic is discovering your inner self and a journey to self-understanding. It's an invitation, right? An invitation to delve into the depths of who you are, to unearth the wealth and potential that lies within you, and to embrace the unique individual that you are. So on this journey, there's absolutely no right or wrong. There's only your path, your choice. And the beauty of it is that it's unique. It's brimming with experiences and dreams and perspectives that make you, you. And so as we talk about the different perspectives and how we can understand our self-talk and that journey, we'd like you to ask us questions if you have, and just be with us and we will take it on from here. Rachel, what do you think about this topic?
It's a topic of which has been present in my life for at least the last, consciously, the last 5 years, really truly discovering my inner self. And it is a journey of understanding who you truly are beneath the masks that we wear. And for me, probably it's the mind. Our mind is a tool which can either help us to really truly understand who we are, or it can move us further and further away from who we truly are, so that we actually don't really understand who we are, because it can either be a constructive or a destructive tool, which has been basically my journey of understanding who my inner self is, by the use of learning how to use my mind correctly.
When you say using your mind correctly, and I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think most of us that are speakers, coaches, and I think everyone that wants to delve into that journey, they go through that experience. And like you, I've been in that process for the past 4 or 5 years as well. And it takes courage at that initial spark, that trigger takes courage to go through these thoughts, through that mental struggle, through even the physical struggle that you encounter from your psychological well-being. And not everyone can do it. Not everyone is willing to do it. So kudos to you and everyone else who is listening, who has been through this and is ready to take on the journey even further. From my end, I mean, this inner self is a constant growth mechanism. Once you start it, I think there's a joy that you get out of it. There's contentment that comes. There is that. I believe from a purpose perspective that you've truly become passionate about what you're thinking, how you're talking, and what comes up. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a combination of the mind and the spoken word, right? That creates our inner life experience, which we then project out into our outer world. And it was interesting. I read or saw a quote, which was quite, whoa, is that we actually spend 1/3 to 1/2 of our waking hours not living in the present. And during that time that we're not living in the present, what are we doing? We're talking to ourselves.
We're talking to ourselves, right?
Yeah. And language is a communication tool for us to be able to navigate our world, our inner world. And we don't get a handbook.
No.
And so it's something that we end up having to learn, and we only start to really learn when we choose to become more self-aware.
Absolutely, and that self-talk is crazy. I mean, if you think about it that way, we spent, what was it, half hour?
1/3 to 1/2 to 1/2 of our waking hours.
Right, not living in the moment.
Yeah. So we're either in the past or in the future with our thoughts.
It's crazy to come to think of it that way. That, I mean, I haven't thought about that for a while, considering that every day I'm living right now. Like I go, I'm a teacher. I finish teaching, I listen to my music on my way back in the car. I'm in the car, I'm thinking about that music. That's the only thing that I'm thinking about. When I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. And I think once you've reached that stage of, I'm okay with my life, I'm living in the present, you start forgetting that, wait a second, what about this and what about that? However, I'm going to deny everything that I've said right now, because a few days ago, actually about 25 days ago, I handed over a thesis for my master's. And the moment I handed it over, it wasn't a relief and it wasn't stress. It was just that thought that, what am I going to do now? I've got so much time on my hands. You see, so like you said, I started thinking about the future already, instead of just saying, wow, I handed over my dissertation. I'm happy, I'm content with it. And it took me a few minutes to realize, well, you know what? This is wonderful. You did your job so far. You can celebrate. It was like midnight, so I wasn't going to celebrate anything. Had to celebrate going to bed.
Finally get some sleep. Yeah.
Right. And then I realized that, well, you know what? Now I can look forward to the next part of the studies that I'm going to do, whatever it may be. But for now, I'm happy with what I've done. So yeah, it's crazy how you stop to think about that future or that past when you're engrossed in that present.
Yeah. I mean, and what you just highlighted with your own inner talk, then the way it was talking to you, is really, that inner voice is silently communicating to you as you were reflecting on your life.
Right.
And that is the good side of the inner voice. That's the supportive inner voice. It doesn't chatter away. It just says what it needs to say. It's when it turns into chatter, it's constant and it doesn't turn off. That's like the dark side of our inner voice, isn't it? I mean, our inner voice is how to say it will stimulate us to be able to plan something. It will help us to control our behavior. It will, to be disciplined or not. If it's not, then it's the darker side of the inner voice. And if it's helping us to stay disciplined, it's that voice that is about the self-reflection. It's the quieter inner voice. But it's also an inner voice is also what is narrating our life, isn't it? It's making it into a story. It's explaining our experiences to ourselves, and it's giving some body to basically our understanding of, who we are, our identity. But when the chatter is turned on, and that's because we've turned inward and we're trying to make sense usually of some problem or some life challenge, whatever it is we're seeing as a negative in our life, but we don't find a solution, then it's really becoming the chatter. And that chatter turns that inner voice into a destructive tool. It's been my experience. It was, basically how I lived a lot of my life was with the negative side of the inner voice. And it feels on that moment that our thoughts are in control of us.
Right.
We are our thoughts, and we're not.
It's true. I mean, I know what you're talking about, and it's what my mom calls the ants in your head. They start eating away constantly, and you start overthinking every single moment, and that can be devastating for our lives. It puts us in a mode of standing still. It's still water, and it starts eating away. And that inner chatter is, especially when we're talking about the ants in the head, that between quotation negative thinking can be very destructive.
Yeah, just like they call it the monkey mind as well, don't they?
The monkey mind, right? Yeah.
And that's like the ruminating, it's the worry, it's, I can never get that word, catastrophizing. Catastrophizing. What's the word? I always get that word.
Oh, the catastrophizing.
Yeah.
That one.
Over exaggerating, making it bigger than it is, that word, and that's because we're just talking about the problem over and over and over. And if we're not doing that actually to somebody, that's what we're doing inside of ourselves anyway. And when we're doing that, we're not listening
Right.
to other inner voice, and we're not able to listen to others either at that time. So we can really become irritated. So a good sign that you are not really connected to your inner self is when you are constantly in this state of being irritated. You're in a negative cycle, because it's consuming your attention, and so you get this lack of focus, and that just starts to impact out into the rest of your world, into your relationships. It can cause conflict and friction, and when we have that prolonged chatter, it just perpetuates. If we're in stress, it's going to make it more stressful, and because it keeps looking at an event. Like if you've broken up in a relationship and you're just focusing on that, on the why did they leave me, for example, and it's just over and over, and it's getting bigger and it's bigger, and that really then will just keep your stress response on active. And that then leads to these these sicknesses that we can then get. We become ill, we become tired, and that can manifest in other different ways. And so I think what I've learned through my journey to understanding myself more is that I am not the chatter, that I am the inner soft talk that is loving and gentle and supportive, etc., etc. That's who I truly am. But I get lost at times in the chatter, and that is the journey to really understanding myself, is understanding that I'm not my mind. I'm not those thoughts that come into my awareness. They are most likely other people's things that I've picked up around as I've grown up, and they're just sort of like a sea above me. And if I get too engrossed in them and start attaching onto them, then I can become identified with them and think that that is me. But I've learned that that isn't me. And to actually look at the mind and that darker side of the voice as a dog, as like giving it some humor, help to give yourself some humor, see it as a dog, give it a name. And then start to have a relationship with it and calm it down. See it as a young puppy that doesn't know how to behave, and you're there to train it and help it grow into an obedient servant, really.
And that's one of the first steps that you can do. In my case, I've learned to speak out loud my thoughts. Especially when I'm alone, and even sometimes I have my kids or people around, I just speak out my thoughts so that I don't get engrossed inside myself and inside my head. And then I have that chatter out in out loud. And it doesn't help it might help if you know several languages, because I start to talk to these different parts of me, because we are talking of parts of ourselves. in different languages, and I answer them back in different languages. So I'm giving each one a personality, and it makes it a little bit easier to comprehend the chatter and where it's coming from. Which personality is doing that? Which personality wants this? And we come to a negotiating process. Today, for instance, I was correcting some exams, and I was reading through a paper. I was like, what is this? I don't want to correct that. This is, I'm reading stuff in English as an English teacher, and it's like, no, but I have to be constructive. So I started talking out loud, like, you have to be constructive. There are some good points there on the task, and then colleagues around me, they started looking at me, and I had to apologize. I said, look, I have to talk to myself to motivate myself, otherwise I'm going to ruin that grading. And it doesn't work. And like you mentioned, it ruins it for everyone. You ruin it for yourself, and you ruin it for the rest of the people around you. You wake up grumpy. I was a grumpy waker when I was a teenager, but that's being a teenager. And then growing a little bit older, I still didn't like to talk too much in the morning and all of that. And I didn't like waking up early. And it impacted every single decision of my day throughout the day. Being that, oh, no, somebody spoke to me this morning and I didn't want to speak. And it's like, oh, and today I'm going to work and I'm tired. So it piles up. And instead of piling things up, we continuously, I mean, instead of just having that part of the day, well, okay, I woke up, it wasn't a great wake up, but now I'm having a coffee and a tea. Ooh, coffee, tea is nice. The same thing that our mentor, Steve, used to, in sessions, sometimes he would say, who had a good week, who had a bad week? And you would have students and people say, I had a bad week. And why was that? Because that day, I don't know, my dog peed in my boot. And that ruined the whole week for them. One event. So that inner talk has a massive impact on us, and we ignore it so much. We don't realize it. So what can we do then, apart from talking to ourselves and giving it dog names and training it? What else can we do to start enjoying our life and having that self-understanding or that inner talk be more constructive?
Yeah, something that I've worked on when is if you understand that you're not your thoughts, you're the observer of your thoughts, and you truly take that on and look as an observer, but don't be judgmental, which means that you don't label your thoughts either positive or negative. They're just a thought.
Right.
And on that moment, it's, just become the witness by helping yourself through becoming present. Because the moment that you become present and you're not in the past or the future, then those thoughts is something you don't attach to them. You can just sit there and you can then make a choice. Do I want to continue to go down this train of thought, or shall I move my focus and my attention to where I want and how? I mean, for me, everything has been about my leading value, or my statement that I tell myself is, it's all about, I want to feel good. And that's the core of everything. And so if I know that I'm not feeling good, I know that I'm in the dark side of the inner voice. I know that I'm starting to listen, or I'm going down the road of ruminating or worrying or whatever. And at that moment, it's learning to pull yourself back by actually as if you just drop the thought. And through breathing, for me, it's just, either breathing or through meditation. Certainly meditation has helped me to create that stillness within me. so that you can discover that inner voice that is talking to you, but it's very gentle, it's quiet, it doesn't say a lot. What it does say is meaningful, and it's usually helpful, and it usually holds a resonance of truth, of truth.
Of course. I mean,
Whereas,
it is part of you, so it does have a sort of resonance of truth. And I mean, for those that can meditate and those that learn how to breathe, take a breath and do these mindfulness techniques, it helps a lot with that chatter. I know I've used it, and I constantly use it. I constantly remind myself how to breathe, even though I know I breathe properly, like breathing from the stomach. And a lot of people forget that you have to breathe from your stomach to make that diaphragm go up and down. And even though I do that on a constant basis, I do sometimes when I'm walking to the car, I'm sitting in the car and I start switching on, okay, so I'm going to breathe again and again, and it does help. It refocuses those thoughts and where you are and what you're going to do, and like in this current moment. It's a technique that I taught my kids when they hurt themselves or stop crying. It's fine to cry. Go ahead, cry if you have to cry. Once you want to talk, breathe in, 3 deep breaths, and then you can start talking so that we can communicate, because I don't understand when you speak like that.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing there really is that it's a lovely statement to remember, which is you're losing your mind and coming to your senses.
Right. Yeah.
Because if we're not in our mind, we are using our senses. We are seeing, we are hearing, we are feeling in the present moment, where, if you touch something or feel something, it's really just get present with now.
Absolutely.
And then the monkey mind or the ants, they go move into the background. They're no longer present.
Right. They become like sub characters in your story.
Yeah.
What I do, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is I involve myself in things that I'm passionate about. So every single day I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. There's not a moment in my day where I might feel a little bit like annoyed or upset or sad. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying the inner thought, that inner chatter, these ants, they hold no space anymore, because I'm doing things that I'm passionate about. And the more you start doing things that you're passionate about, things that you really want to do, things that really interest you, not things that you're doing because society dictates it, because your partner says you have to do it. Find things that you're really passionate about and partake in them. It's a whole different thing. I practice karate twice a week with my students. As much as I'm an instructor, I still practice with them and I demonstrate. My world disappears. I do not feel or think about anything apart from karate. That's it. When I'm teaching in class, the only thing that happens is me delivering to the students what I'm talking about, how I'm displaying it, how I'm communicating, what we can do about it. There is no thought about, oh, this student is annoying or this student is misbehaving. It doesn't matter anymore to me, because my job at this specific moment is to deliver a training, to deliver a teaching class, to deliver a course, or to assist somebody. When we go shopping, and I say we, my kids and I, we have lists and somebody does this, somebody does that, and I do this. So we're only focused on that. And that's one thing that helps, is partaking in activities that you are passionate about. And you might be doing a job that you don't like, that you're not passionate about. And that might also be a reason for your inner chatter. I'm not telling you to quit, or I am telling you quit, but find an alternative, right? Understand what you want to do with yourself. Understand that dog or these ants, where they want to go. How is it going to help you? That why that we keep asking ourselves is not important, not at this stage. To me, at least. I think how is more important. How are we moving forward? How is this voice trying to help me? Because the voice is trying to help us, whether we like it or not. Like you mentioned in the beginning, it holds a partial truth. So what partial truth does it hold? What can we use from that truth to learn and to achieve a step forward in our life, in our journey?
Yeah, I mean, the for me, you're describing when you were talking about when you're teaching and you're speaking to the class, that you're just there, that's what you're focused on. When we are able to just be truly present, we are completely in our body. We're not present when we're still in our head, but we're saying, yeah, I know I'm here, but in the back you can still, it's like there is a commentary going on. You know, that is, then you know that you're not present, you're not in your body. Where did I want to go with that? There was a reason why I was going there. Now I've got a lot of space. There's no chatter. It's just completely silent. So there was a reason, but being in your body is really important to discovering your inner self.
Right.
You're not going to be able to achieve really connecting to who you truly are if you're constantly in your head, because like I said in the beginning, your head is like a trickster. If it's constantly chattering away at you, which for most of us we are until we start that journey. Most of us are living a reality based on what our inner talk is telling us. Because we could both be sat in the same room and it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day. And we say, what a beautiful day. And for example, you could turn around and go, well, no, actually, it's a miserable day for me. Well, why? Because of whatever is going on in your head. And you can't then appreciate or value, you know, what is really present in this moment, because you're actually living in the past or you're living in a future. And whilst you're there in either of those two places, you are not connected to who you truly are.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think this is where one of the things that we've learned and that people might know about would come very handy, and that's reframing your thoughts. Reframing that, between quotation, negative thought into a positive statement, something that can lead you forward instead of looking at the past, right? We often, and I'm using this one because I just used it the other day with some of my students. I can't do this. It's not that you can't do it. If you just simply add the yet, it will make a massive difference. I can't do this yet. Okay, why not yet? Because I haven't practiced it, because I haven't learned it, because it opens up options for us. And so reframing a negative thought to a positive one, if I may use these terms, it helps you have some sort of compassion, self-compassion, actually. And we're not very good at self-compassion. We're not very good at accepting that our mind's narrative is okay to have for a bit, not for too long, just for a bit. And then you are then in charge of changing that and understanding it. But we don't have self-compassion. We learn how to have compassion for others, but we're our worst critics. harshest critics. And so reframing and talking to yourself and thinking about what you're thinking about in a positive way helps you be kind to yourself, helps you have that self-compassion and focuses you in a sense so that you can be grateful for the current state. And yes, it's not easy to be grateful and content with the current state when everything is in shambles. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it takes practice, it takes dedication, and it takes, moreover, the will to do it. This is like any client that comes to us. What do we do the first time that we meet a client? We talk with them, we ask them questions, and we decide, are you willing to do the job necessary? Are you willing to do this and that and that? Yeah, but no, but yes. I'm sorry. I don't want clients like that. I've told clients no, because they were in that state. They are not ready to take a step. They are not ready to move forward. So being willing to do what needs to be done, and if I'm saying needs to, for yourself, doing what is necessary for your well-being, doing what you find right for yourself, but being willing to is the first step in this whole process of self-understanding and inner talk.
Yeah, like you say, where there's a will, there's a way.
Right? This is a saying that my mom has constantly used with us kids since we were young.
Yeah, I mean, I had to be willing to want to turn the relationship I had with myself from one of rejecting and hating into one of acceptance and loving.
Right.
I had to be willing to say to myself, that's where this is who I want to be. I want to be a loving, compassionate, gentle, or be in a loving, gentle, compassionate relationship with myself. That's who I want to become. That's who I know I am. Only I need to learn how to be there all the time. And the only way I could be there all the time was to then just take the decision and make a choice that every time I became aware that I was with my chatter, and my chatter is for me, as you know, like a separate false self, that it was there is something within me that I know could stand up higher than that and decide, I'm going to teach you to do it differently. I'm going to teach you to learn to be kind to yourself. And so, yeah, I had to learn to have a relationship with I always called it the beast in my head, but you know, that beast could be a dog, as I said, you know, and naming it and starting to just understand it. Like, why is it thinking like this? Where is that coming from? For me, really helped me to get a better understanding of myself. And so that's like all that inner work. But I think we choose to do that because we're human. We want to dissect things and we want to analyze things and we want to have a real understanding of what the root cause was. And that's all well and good. But truly the most simplest step is just every time you recognize this isn't feeling good, these thoughts are not helping me. Okay, I have a choice to pick the opposite of that. Then it's just a choice, and it feels awkward, that choice. It doesn't feel normal. It feels a bit alien. It's like, well, you know, and you don't trust yourself in the beginning, and you think, I don't even believe what I'm saying to myself. But that is part of the transition. That is that backwards and forwards. You're strengthening it. That at one point you'll notice, oh, actually, I believe that now, what I've just said to myself. Whereas maybe so many months earlier, it was like, okay. And then it'd be like, no, stop, don't add on at the end. If I say I love you to myself in the mirror, for example, and I could feel the voice coming up that's saying, no, you don't. You're this. It's like, shh, for now, for this moment, I love me.
Yeah.
It's just that repetition and that, constantly working with the so-called inner critic.
And you're absolutely right. And it's not about denying that inner critic or denying that outer voice, a voice. It's just about saying, no, I know you're there. I know you want to say rubbish about me, but for now, I want to love myself. In a couple of hours, you can come and give me shit, and then we can talk about that.
Yeah, it is. It's just you have to allow that chatter to be there. It's a human condition. We all
Absolutely,
have it,
yeah.
and it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Only the objective, from my perspective, is that you are more in a state of where there is no chatter,
right,
the majority of the time. So what that, a third to a half you're spent in, not in the present moment, that's what you're trying to change. You're
correct.
switching it around, that you're more in the present, you're more connected to your body, you're more going with what is it that feels good and right and true for me, which means that you've got to have that relationship with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And these are the things I mean, you spoke about addressing yourself in the mirror, right? Saying you love yourself and telling the other side, no, you know what, for now, just keep quiet. I'm going to love myself now. And noticing that, I think the first step in any part of development or growth is to notice these triggers that we have, is to just pay attention to when they're happening, not why they're happening, when they're happening. Once you know when it happens, you can get a sort of, that mind likes to analyze things. So analyze that. When is it happening? Okay, it happens then, and then, and then, and then. Okay, so how can we move forward with that? Is there a way to talk to it? Is there a way to negotiate? Is there a way to interrupt that thought with, like you do in hypnosis, in sudden hypnosis, right? You shock the brain with something. Something that worked with me for marvelously was humor. Watching some funny show, or watching funny videos, or reading hilarious jokes, it shocks your brain because it puts you in a state of, wait, I was thinking of something, then it's funny. You're completely switching that physiological state of, and that helps your mind change as well. So that's another thing that helped me for quite a while, to the point that if I want to just relax and think of nothing, because I'm in the mood of thinking of nothing, because there's nothing to do, I would lay down on my couch and put on one of my favorite comedy series and start watching it. And I watch it as if I've never seen it before. I laugh hysterically. I watch the characters, and that's the only thing that I'm doing. Nothing else matters around me. So that can be an answer. I'm not recommending it, because you can get addicted to that. Like anything else, balance in life.
Yeah.
This is what Rachel and I are actually trying to communicate, is have balance in your life with everything that you do, with that chatter, with the inner thoughts, with your with the activities that you want to focus on. Some people use washing the dishes as a therapeutic method. Some people clean as a therapeutic method. They don't think about it, but a lot of people, sometimes when they get annoyed or they get frustrated, they start cleaning, washing, doing activities that refocuses their brain.
It distracts them from...
It's a distraction, yeah. From that inner chatter.
Yeah, and it's looking for your healthy distractions, because everybody is different. There is no one thing that is gonna be the
Oh,
solution for everybody. No, everybody has to find what works for them. For me, walking in nature is a really good one that I didn't know was going to be so helpful to me until I started doing it. And then I started realizing, hey, I'm actually really enjoying my walks, and I'm noticing that, because it started off as meditation, sitting quietly, etc., and then there came a moment when that kind of just naturally started to sort of just get less,
mm,
and I started noticing that I was walking. And for me, that is a kind of meditation, because I get start focusing on what it is that I'm seeing, and I'm naming things. Oh, I see a tree, and I see this, it's green. And then whilst I'm doing that, I know that whatever I might have been stewing on, for example, has now taken a back seat.
right.
And through my walk, sometimes inspiration or something will pop in that actually is the solution that that I'm looking for to whatever that problem was, because I've put myself in a different state of being. And like you said, with humor, what actually we're doing is we are, if you imagine a scale of vibration, we are moving our vibration up. And when we move our vibration up, we're going to get thoughts that are going to be helpful and supportive, and uplifting, because our mind can be our best friend, and it can uplift us if we are giving it the instruction to that's the direction we want to be going. But if we start moving and focusing and ruminating on this problem, we start pulling ourselves down, and our vibration is getting lower. And that's when we get stuck, like you said, and we can't get out of it, and it's this negative cycle, and we just get to a point where we're analyzing to the point that we paralyze ourselves.
Yeah, and that's devastating, obviously. And
Yeah.
and you see this, what you brought up, that meditation that converted itself into walking, it is therapeutic, right? And you started doing it and you started enjoying it, which created that self-awareness and that mindfulness as well. But this takes root as well in positive psychology, and by doing things that we are good at, recognizing our strengths, our how we can develop these positive habits of ours into boosting ourselves. Because the more you start boosting yourself, the more you start proving to yourself and that inner talk that, hey, I'm good at that, I can do this, I can do that, and I can do it well, that inner chatter starts to dwindle, because, well, it has no space anymore. Let's say you know how to cook, but you're never sure about cooking, but you know that you're a good cook. Start cooking more. And every time do something different, and this will automatically boost your confidence with time. And by boosting your confidence, there will come a moment where you'll be like, I'm an excellent cook, and no matter what you give me, I will make it, and you will love it. And if somebody says something about you, you'll be like, doesn't matter, I know I'm good. So counterbalance that inner chatter. For me, that's one of the focuses that I would suggest to people. Counterbalance it with activities, like I mentioned before, that you're good at, and add on to them. And I would say cultivate the emotions that you have whilst doing these activities. Encourage yourself to feel the joyful moments, the word is stuck, the optimism behind what you're doing. See the glory in what you're doing, whatever it may be, so that you can enrich those emotions and have them as an anchor for yourself. So whenever you're feeling sad or you start having inner chatter, you're like, oh, yesterday I made this amazing cordon bleu, and it was, it builds up that momentum for yourself. It builds up these emotions that are there for you to trigger whenever you want to. The other day I was talking about happiness in school, and we were discussing how happiness is, and that you can have happiness whenever you want to.
Mhm.
And we did a small exercise where I took them on a guided meditation 10 years in the future, because they're teenagers, so I just gave them a little bit more. Usually it's 5 years for grown-ups. But I gave them 10 years, and I asked them to imagine their ideal life. Imagine your ideal life in 5 years from now, how it looks like, what it smells like, who's around, what do you hear, who do you hear, where is it, the colors, the textures, the tastes. Imagine that, put it in your mind and imagine that future, and go backwards slowly how to get there if you want to, or just have that image stuck in your head for a few minutes and it's there forever. It's an instant away. All you have to do is close your eyes and you'll be there. And it was really good with the class, because those that did the exercise, they were fascinated. They were still in that moment. And then I asked them, can you remember the moment? Yes. If you close your eyes now, will you remember it? Yes. Will you be happy? Yes. Can you have happiness every day? Yes. So happiness is there every day, as long as we enrich it with our positive thoughts, with our positive actions, with reframing our words, and seeing the balance between that inner critic and our real self.
Yeah, I think for me, going back to like the subject of discovering your inner self and that journey to self-understanding, it began with a real, like, the willingness to become the person I know I truly am. So get really clear, like feel into that. What does that look like? Who are you? Who is it that you know you truly are, but yet you know you're in a struggle with yourself at the moment, and you keep, things are going on in your outer world that you feel is against you, and you're in this cycle. Just take a moment to get clear on who it is that you truly feel you are, and then that becomes your reference point with everything. Like, so the moment that this isn't who I know I am, this is who I'm currently playing out to the world based on stuff that has happened to me, and I'm reacting to the world because of that. At the moment, so if it's like, for example, I do something and I didn't do it very well, maybe I fail. The old version of me would go into one, it'd be like, right, well, that's just typical, you're incapable, you're not good enough. This is the story of your life, whatever, that whole, that commentary. Then I stop myself and ask, but the true me wants, how would she respond? And then I just choose to adopt and take on her energy and be with myself. And that has been, it's not like that I'm 100% always in the person that I always know that I am in my heart of hearts. I still slip up, I still move in and become and get identified with my dog and end up having a real heated thing with my dog, until I realized that, hey, wait a minute, I'm the owner here.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do that.
But I wouldn't have done that in the past. And so that is my work in progress. That is how I am becoming more every day in the energy of who I know I truly am. Like the real me, not the persona that I created to protect me from the outer world, and being heartbroken and this and not getting rejected and being judged and etc. All of that were all defenses and protective mechanisms that I had created, but I was unhappy with them. I was unhappy being me. That wasn't who I am. And so get clear. Really get clear. If anyone who is listening, it's get clear on who is it that you know you truly are, and that you need to feel that. It's not something that you think, it's something you feel. And then put words to it and shape it and feel into it. What feeling do you get from that? And then that's what I'm going to go out and give into the world. That's what I'm going to give back to myself. And that you start building up and building up, and it gets
I
stronger.
love that. The way you presented it reminded me of last week on Thursday when Angie was here. We were talking about journaling. I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before. Anyway, I was talking with Angie and we were talking about journaling. And what you just described now, you could also enrich it by journaling it down so that you have those two sides. It will help you see that difference in chatter. Who your true self, put on one side, like you mentioned, on one side, the true self, the one that you want to be, the one that you truly are without the distractions, as you mentioned. And the other side will have the dog, or will have the characters of the dog and what it's doing and why it's doing it, right? Not why, not important, but let's say what it's doing, how it's doing it. And you will be able to see it on paper as well. Remember, writing as well helps us transfer those thoughts into actual thing, into context, in a sense.
Yeah. And sometimes when you actually see it or hear it, like you said, you speak out, it can sometimes surprise you. When it's silent in your head, it's very different because you can just let it run. But the moment you voice it or put it down on something, your true self, your real self will start to see that. And there's something that jolts then. And it's like, oh, that doesn't actually, now that I've spoken it out, or now that I've written it down and I'm looking at it in black and white, that doesn't feel right.
It becomes contextual. It becomes something that you can, it has texture, it has a body, it has a shape, it has presence more than that background running of the engine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's a wonderful way to help out. And I think from all perspectives, we should always be aware of that inner talk, inner chatter, and give it some space and pull the lead a little bit tighter, tell it to come down to your heel. Let it obey you at times, and if it wants to take the lead, sometimes you can let it, depending on how far it goes. It just nurture yourself first, nurture your true self. And I think these are the main perspectives that I have, that, I mean, you filled in so much and in such a good way that I think we've spoken about it. The other thing that I think we missed out is the combination of words that we use. And you will notice that inner chatter needing things. It will tell you, you need to do that. It will tell you, you have to do that. It would tell you, you should do that, right? The need, should, have to, must, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be a tyrant, but it will order you around. So pay attention to those words that are used in everyday language. Practice removing these needs, because you don't need anything. All you need is water, shelter, food. These are, I'm ignoring now Maslow's theory. I'm just saying, like, you need three things: shelter, food, and water. The rest is complementary. Everything else is a want. You don't need it. You don't have to do it. There's no must in it. It all depends on what you truly want to do or want to partake in. That's my opinion, at least from that perspective.
Yeah, everything is a choice.
Right.
Simply, it comes down to a choice. You either want to nourish a loving relationship with yourself, or you want to continue having the relationship that you have right now. And probably on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it's a 6, maybe it's a 5. Depending, everybody's 5, 6, 7, 8 will be different on how they're rating that. But when we're truly honest with ourselves, I think you only have to look into your world around you to really understand where you're at with yourself in this moment in time. And just remember that it's almost like we are always living so many seconds in the past, because we live by thought.
Right.
And so even when we are present, really present, we still are we've just created a past, if you know what I mean. So our future, we are creating our future, but our future is going to be our past. Mm-hmm. And just remember that whatever you're doing and thinking and behaving and interacting with yourself right now is going to be your tomorrow, but your tomorrow is also going to be your past. And so to get out of it, it means you have to start doing something differently, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to feel like it's hard work, and it's going to test you, and you're going to get stuff coming up that is going to ask you to look even deeper within yourself. And that's when, like you said at the very beginning, you need courage, and along with your willingness to dive in, because at the root of it all, you are worth it. You are worth knowing who you truly are, so that you can live and be the person that you came here to be, and give to the world out what you come here to express, that is your unique thing.
I think those are beautiful words of encouragement, and we're coming close to our time. So with those last final words of encouragement from your end, who are you, Rachel, for the audience that are still coming, for those that know us and they know you, but who are you and where can anyone find you?
So I'm a coach, a speaker on self-growth, and I started to kind of call myself a self-love specialist, because I really do feel that I've, my journey of from self-hate to self-love, I have become a specialist to myself with that. So I'd like to teach that to others, as well as coach and help others. And you can find me on TikTok, Facebook and Instagram, and it's all at Rachel G Healing. And if you want to work with me, when you work with me, the results of my coaching programs, it's really for people who are struggling with themselves in any shape or form. And I help them to lovingly heal and accept themselves as a whole, to really confidently be able to express their authentic voice, and to compassionately turn their wounds into wisdom, because that's what I've done with myself. And I just want to express that I'm not perfect. I am imperfect, but it's my imperfection and the game. It's like the game of life between nourishing this relationship with myself that is something that I have to continue to do. There is no final destination. So I'm just maybe one step or two steps ahead on my journey, and I want to help people who maybe are a couple of steps behind me to help bring them forward. And so I'm looking for men or women who are just really eager to get to know themselves on a deeper level, and want to experience a strong, heartfelt connection with themselves, and to turn their inner critic into an inner coach, and to basically just have a more joyful and peaceful lifestyle. So yeah, if you know anybody, send them my way.
Thank you, Rachel. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And at some point, we all need some help and healing, and this is why we do what we do. From my end, I will give you a quote, as I usually leave the audience with, and this quote is from Rumi, and he says, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And you can change love with any other word you want."
Beautiful. I love Rumi.
Oh, amazing. From my end, I'm Kamal Amer. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. and you can find me on my website, kamalamer.com. And what I do is I use a combination of ancient Egyptian methodology and neurolinguistic programming techniques, as well as psychology, to help my clients, specifically mid-managers, understand and uncover their life purpose so that they can live with balance and purpose for the rest of their life. Knowing that between 86 to 92% of people live their life not seeking growth, not exploring the depth of themselves, not exploring their purposes, I would like to help whoever wants that kind of help. My program is quite intense as well. It's a 14-week course, so it takes a while, but I definitely work with the people that want it. From my end, and Rachel and the whole team of Nkosi Talk Show, for everybody that has watched us, thank you for being with us. For those that are watching us in the future, that will be your present. We wish you a wonderful rest of the day, evening, or morning, wherever you may be. And we hope that you find the voice within you.
And keep loving you.
And keep loving you. Goodbye from Nkosi Talk Show. Let's see how we do.